Hey guys, JK Wargames. So today we're going to review The Last 100 Yards by GMT Games, and the game has been designed by Mike Denson. This is a new game for GMT, and it's a tactical World War II combat game. And we're going to have a look at what you get in the box, and we're going to go through a little bit of how you play the game, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. So what do you get in the box then? So you've got the rule book, which is very nice, and it's laid out. It's full colour, and it tells you everything you need to know to play the game. We then get our nice charts. So we've got small arms fire table, we've got combat anti-tank fire table. This then opens up, and you have your terrain tables and concealment markers and tactical objective tables, and then you have your close combat assault tables on the back of that. You get two of these player aid cards which help you during play of the game, so that's really nice. Then you get this playbook which you can use to help you play the game. So this just gives you examples of gameplay, and this really helped me. So it's really clear, really well laid out, full colour. So definitely recommend reading the rule book and the playbook. You then get your casualty track. I'll bring the camera over here quick. This is the casualty track. The game works on a casualty system, which we'll explain a bit later. And that also has a sequence of play on it. And then we get our missions in the game. Now there's 12 missions, and they're all laid out really nice. It gives you a bit of history about the battle, tells you what you need. So we would need the second and third tank platoons. You'd need the third tank platoon of the Germans. It tells you what maps to use. These are double-sided as well. And there is literally, I've played about 6 missions, so I've still got 6 more to play. Then you get your maps. Now, really stunning maps from GMT. Really nice. These numbers here in this hex are for mortar fire. So these are double-sided as well. So you can see this one here, woods, buildings. Turn it over, got a little road. Then you start getting maps here. Now, these are hills. So the thick black lines are hills, and they have an effect on gameplay. And again, they're all double-sided. So we've got a really dense woods or forest there. Nice rural looking map there, and the other one there. So, oh, and also the most important thing, let's not forget, is your tokens. Now I've put these into bags which come with the game. So I've got all my tanks, so you get loads of tanks for the Americans and Germans. So you can just see there, it's an M10. I won't go through what these stats are yet. So, and the tokens are really nice size, and the graphics are brilliant on them. And then we've got your assault markers, concealment markers, maneuver markers. They're all in there. Then these tokens here are your small arm fire modifier tokens. So when you fire at a unit, you're going to place a token on there once you've worked out what number you need. And you get the same for tank combat. They're in yellow. We then have our German tanks there. We've got concealment markers, so if anyone's concealed, one of these markers goes on them. These are all the tokens for the infantry platoons. So if when you are hit and you don't make your save, etc., you are flipped over to a disrupt, and that's what the back of these tokens are. But you can see the front of them. Oh, as I spill them all, really nice graphics on them. So I'm really happy with the standard you get from GMT. And these are motion markers for tanks, and then we have more red tokens there. So, oh, and let's not forget our German infantry. So there's just tons and tons of tokens in this game. There you go, there's a better look. Fantastic, great quality. Very, very happy with the components. Everything just screams good quality, which you wouldn't expect anything else from a GMT game, to be honest. So let's have a look at how this game works then. Okay, so gameplay. The last 100 yards is totally different to anything I've played before. So how the game works is you're going to roll for initiative. Whoever gets the initiative, they get to activate their platoon. But before they do that, they get to roll a dice to see if they can activate 2 platoons before the enemy can react. So the game works on the attacker activates a platoon, and then he will call for reaction from the defender. Then the defender can react to anything that's in line of sight. He can react, he can fire or move. He can also react if he wasn't in line of sight, but he can only make a move or a recovery. So basically we get this casualty track. So how the game works, when a unit takes a casualty, the attackers here have a limit of 4, just for instance, and the defender, the Germans, has a limit of 2. Now if either side goes over this, they've lost the game. So the attackers, if they cause, if the Germans cause a casualty on the attackers, the Americans, it would move once to the left like that. If they cause 2, it would then go up there. But let's then say the Germans cause a casualty, the Americans cause a casualty on the Germans, it goes 1 to the right. Now at first this really confused me, because I thought, well, the attackers are being penalised here for actually hurting the Germans. But how the game works is on time. So if you look over here, we have time. And after each turn, you're going to roll a dice and add the time. So 5, you look on the time lapse table, 5 is 3 minutes. So you would then move the time down to 5 minutes. Now you do this at the end of every turn, and on the mission card it will tell you how many points you need to win. So the attackers have a 0 to 25, let's say. So as long as they keep their points within 0 to 25 and they meet the objective, they will win. But if the score goes over that, so if they went over 25, it then falls into a draw. And then if it goes a lot more over that, up to 36 or 46 say, the Germans then win. Now what happens is the time is then added to the amount of casualties that each side has. So let's say we had 3 casualties on the American side. So we have 5 minutes, you then add 9 to that. And that's your total points each turn. So you're trying to keep your time down, if you see what I mean. So when you cause a casualty on the Germans, you're reducing that number to keep you in victory conditions, whereas the Germans are pushing your casualties up and you're gaining more numbers, which could have an effect by you not winning the match. And if either side goes over that, like I've said, they lose. So it's a little bit confusing at first to get your head around, but it's quite simple, but a very, very interesting system. So let's go and take a look at some actual gameplay then. Okay, so I've just got 2 tokens out here. We've got an American infantry squad and a German infantry squad. normally there'd be a lot more tokens, but let's just say the Americans have the initiative, so they get to activate their platoon first. So they've only got one platoon on the table. They can then choose to move or fire or assault. So let's say he was back here. Infantry have a movement point cost of 3. So in the open, he can move 3 hexes. Pretty simple. If he crosses terrain or goes into woods, it costs him more. So to go into woods costs 1.5. So you wouldn't be able to make a full 3 moves into the woods. So you are penalised for moving into terrain. So let's just say he's here. And his first thing he's going to do, he's going to fire. So let's have a look at how the firing works. He's going to fire at the German infantry because they are in line of sight. Obviously you have to check line of sight. Then what happens is we look at this green number. So the green number on the left there is a 1. So his small arms fire is a 1. And then that's going to be modified. So we see what range the target is in. So he's 1, 2, 3 spaces away. So we get our player aid. And you can see here that he has a range of 8 and the target is 3 away, so it's a -1. So our 1 now goes to a 0. Then we have a wall in the way, so that is another -1. So we're now on a -1. So that squad receives a -1 marker. So let's grab a -1 token, like so, and that goes onto that unit. We would then move on to our next action with another unit in the platoon. They might move, they might fire. Once we've done that, we can then call for reaction from the German player. So let's just say we've moved everything, we've fired everything. The German player is now going to react. Well, he can react to this unit here because they are in line of sight. So he's going to fire back at him. So he would now, he has a 1, but he has a range of 10. So we go 1, 2, 3 away. We look at 10, 3 away, there is no modifier. So he stayed at 1, but we have that wall in the way, which is -1. So that unit receives a 0, but they have a token on top of them. They are suppressed, so they receive another 1. So they're going to receive a -1 marker. So they've both got -1 on them. So the Germans react with all their units. They call for reaction from the Americans. The Americans could then go and activate another platoon, etc. Once all that's done, every unit's activated, we then get to the fire resolution phase. And it's pretty simple. We roll dice and we add or subtract the modifiers. So let's take the German unit. We roll a dice and we -1 off the result. So we have rolled a 5. -1 is 4. Well, this unit has a cohesion of 5 and we need to beat that to disrupt them. Nothing happens. The Americans would then roll. They have a -1. They've rolled a 1, -1, no effect. But let's just say the Americans rolled a 9. So they roll a 9, -1 is 8. Well, it's more than their 5. So they are disrupted. So they're flipped over like that. Now, disrupted unit, when they activate next, they can only recover or move into an adjacent hex if it has terrain. So in their activation phase, they could try and recover, which they have to roll 5 or less. So they rolled 5 or less. They could then flip back over. Also, if we roll a 10 at this unit, let's say this unit had a +2 on them, a 2 marker, we would roll an 8, +2 is 10. Now that disrupts them, but because it's a 10, it also causes a casualty. So when you cause a casualty, that's when you would go to your game track and the casualty marker would move 1 to the right because we have caused a casualty on the Germans. This token is then removed and we randomly select a infantry squad of the same platoon and bring it back onto the table, disrupted. That's how it works. So, also, when a unit recovers, if they roll a 10, they become heroic. So if they roll a 10 when they're trying to recover, they recover and they receive a hero marker, which then gives them a better cohesion. So their cohesion score is then an 8, so like this, and they have to immediately try and assault a unit within 3 hexes. So there's some really cool little features like that. If this unit was in this building, so we've got buildings there, when they're fired at, there's a -2 in the building. So this unit here now has line of sight, so he has 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's a -1 for that, so his 1 goes to a 0. He has -2 for the buildings, and then he has -1 for the wall there. So you can be getting really down to like -3 and -4. Then it's very hard to try and dislodge units from a building. So let's have a look at how tanks work quickly. Okay, so tank combat. This is probably one of my favourite bits of the game. When a tank unit or an armoured vehicle unit moves, they have a motion marker like this. So it costs 1 movement point to go into motion. So let's just say we have our tank here on the road. He uses 1 movement point to go into motion. And tanks get 5 movement points. So we've used 1, we've got 4 left. So he could then move 4 hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, simple. Now, if this German tank fired at him, the German tank will receive a -1 because the tank is in motion. It's a moving target. What we can also do is halt or stop. So we go to the next turn. This guy is in motion. Well, I'm going to stop the tank. He then receives a red arrow. So that means the tank has stopped. Now he can either halt and fire, or he can shoot and scoot as well. So if he halts and fires, he could fire at this Panzer IV while in motion, move to an adjacent hex and then stop, like so. That's a halt and fire. Now, a shoot and scoot, he can shoot. He's stopped at the moment. He can shoot, then go into motion, and then move 1 hex. So it's not just moving. You have to think about being in motion, stopping. Am I going to shoot and scoot? Am I going to halt and fire? So it's really interesting. So let's look at shooting quickly. This Sherman, and again, tanks activate as platoons, all the same. So the Sherman's going to fire on the Panzer IV. We look at this 3 up here. This is our anti-tank value, AP. So we have a 3 to start with. So that's going to be modified. So we count the hexes to our target. We have 1, 2, 3. So we have a range of 21. Now, a range of 21, 3 hexes away, there's no modifier. But we have a stone wall in the way, so that's a -1. So that goes down, that 3 goes down to a 2. Now let's just say the Panzer IV is in motion. It now goes down to a 1 because we receive a further -1. So the tank receives a -1 marker. So we put that on the tank. If I can find a -1, here it is. So the Panzer IV receives that. We would then activate other units and so on. We get to the fire resolution phase. The German player is going to roll, and he has a -1 on this roll. So he rolls, and he's rolled a 10. -1 is 9. So that equals his armor value. This number down here in the right corner is his armor value. Now if you equal, your tank is shocked. So he's flipped over. A bit like disrupted for infantry, but it's shocked for vehicles. The only thing that vehicle can do now is attempt to recover. So again, he would have to roll under a 9. So if you roll equal to, the tank is shocked. If you roll less, there's no effect. If you roll over that number, over the armor value, the target's destroyed. So let's say there wasn't a -1 and there was a 0 counter. We rolled a 10, that target is destroyed. He's removed from the game. And then the casualty track would go 1 to the right for the Americans. Okay, and very quickly, when we roll for initiative, whoever had initiative at the start in the previous turn gets a +2. So the Americans had the initiative last turn. We roll our dice. So the Americans have 7 + 2 is a 9, and the Germans have a 6. So the Americans would get the initiative again. So all I've shown you here is just some really quick examples. I definitely recommend that you read the rule book. I've read it about 3 times now because there are certain things where you will get confused. But you just work your way through it. There are some old videos on the GMT YouTube channel of Last 100 Yards being played in a computer module, which helped me as well. But I found this to be a fantastic game. I've waited a while for it. GMT sent it through for review, and I just think it's fantastic. There are a couple of little things, maybe certain things in the rule book could be clearer, but apart from that, I mean, gameplay and the production on the game is fantastic. So massive thumbs up. If you're looking to get this, guys, then I definitely recommend getting it. You won't be disappointed. So I hope you enjoyed this review, guys. Thanks to GMT Games for sending me the copy of Last 100 Yards to review. So as always, guys, make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.